It's Subverted Tropes, a podcast about movies, featuring your hosts Daniel Spencer and Kate Harlow. Welcome to another episode of Subverted Tropes. I'm Dan.
I'm Kate.
Hey, Kate.
Hey, Dan.
How you doing?
I'm real good. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Why is that?
It's my birthday.
Don't cry. I mean, you can if you really feel like that's what you need to do. I support you in whatever you do, but I hope you're not crying on your birthday.
That was definitely not intended to be the tune of It's My Birthday and I'll Cry If I Want To, as much as the Grandmaster's It's My Birthday celebration on his ship from Thor Ragnarok.
I fully appreciate that, but I think you can understand how singing the words It's My Birthday.
100%. 100%. So today we're going to talk about one of my favorite movies. No, check that. My favorite movie.
The number one mostest?
Number one mostest.
Oh, boy.
I've seen this movie at least once a year for the past 10 years.
Nice.
And I've seen it several times before that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about the 1963 The Haunting.
Cool.
I had originally written this whole bit that I was going to do of like starting in with the production notes from the shitty remake and seeing how long it took for you to call me on it.
Mm-hmm.
But that just made me sick. So,
yeah.
No. So, let's set the scene. It's 1959.
Mm-hmm.
Shirley Jackson has just released her novel, The Haunting of Hill House.
Mm-hmm.
It garnered a lot of well-deserved acclaim because it's a phenomenal book. Highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't read it. And it was such a big book, it got a review in Time magazine that Robert Wise read and was like, oh, I should read this book. So he went and read the book. One day, he was in his office reading the book, and it was a very intense part. Mm-hmm. And someone walked into his office and startled him so bad, he fell out of his chair.
Okay. That's why you always knock.
And that is when he decided he needed to make a movie out of it.
Fantastic.
So he went to United Artists.
A wise choice.
A wise choice. So he went to United Artists and said, hey, I want to make this movie. Will you buy me the rights? And they bought him the rights. And so he began working with Nelson Gidding to write a screenplay. Mm-hmm. Gidding read the book a couple of times and had a different interpretation than what Robert Wise was getting.
Okay.
So
he thought it was like more of a slapstick comedy.
Yeah.
I can see how you would get confused.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to start off.
It's like how people don't understand it is about a clown.
Yeah, like actually just a clown.
Pennywise.
Like that's
the
not
dancing clown.
There's nothing more to it. I don't know where people get this alien
it's
thing.
It's very complex.
Or like something scary. No, it's just a clown trying to entertain kids.
The whole universe world theory is just so much. It's just anyway.
Is this about to become a flat Earth podcast?
It hasn't been?
Oh God. All right, so no, he thought that the house was actually a mental institution and that we were seeing Eleanor's the main character. We were seeing her experiences through her eyes that was twisting reality.
Oh.
And that Dr. Markway was actually like her doctor.
Okay.
The others were other patients in the facility.
There for their own reasons.
Exactly.
Okay.
So Gidding and Wise had a couple of disagreements about this. And Robert Wise was like, you know what we need to do? let's just go ask Jackson herself.
Mm-hmm.
So they did.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, man, that would have been really cool if I'd done that. But it didn't. But it would have been cool, but it didn't.
Nowadays, if it were like the world of Twitter, where you can just add in details that you didn't put in your original text, she could rolling that and be oh, that's what happened.
She could totally rolling it. And she would... I was going to make a couple bad jokes, but I'm just going to skip right past it. But yeah, so they decided to go back to just the clear-cut ghost story.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very interesting idea.
I mean, I know this is a story that has been adapted several different ways. Has anybody gone ahead and done that version of it?
No. Unless you count Hello from the Magic Tavern in their Dr. Ward episode, where, spoiler, the Dark Lord tries to convince Arnie that he's actually in a mental institution, and that that Shunt is an orderly,
mm-hmm.
and it is a fantastic episode of the show.
Well, because Hello from the Magic Tavern, it's fantastic.
Yes.
Shout out. No, my immediate thought when you suggested that was, spoiler, Shutter Island.
Yes.
Which obviously doesn't follow the exact same plot lines, but
I have a feeling
that twist.
Yes, drew strongly from that. Now, I haven't seen Stephen King's Red Rose.
It's much closer to the original Haunting.
Okay.
It doesn't. I don't think it has the. I don't think it has the mental institution like sanitarium angle. I will admit that the last time I saw it was when the TV miniseries aired, and it was like 2 a.m. and I was in the hospital and I couldn't sleep, so I was watching it. It's just a hint for all of you out there: if you're in a hospital at night, maybe don't watch a horror miniseries. Just a suggestion.
Set in a hospital. And it's not called Red Rose, is it?
It's Rose Red, I think.
Rose Red. That's it. Because, yeah, I remember hearing that it was set in a mental institution.
It could be that my recollection is not exactly clear. It was a weird weekend.
Reading through the Wikipedia of it. No, it's just a massive Seattle mansion.
Okay. That makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
I can remember all the way back to 8th grade, guys. Hey. Put me on Jeopardy.
So, United Artists lost interest in the project. And they're like, well, I mean, yes, we're just going to put this on hold for right now, and we'll get back to it later.
Boo.
Wise had a lot invested in it, like emotionally. Like, he was really in love with it. And he was like, I don't want to put it on hold. And his agent reminded him that he still had one movie to give to MGM.
Oh.
And so he took it to MGM. And they said, yes, we love it. We'll give you $1 million to do it. Which is $8 million today. 8.6, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, I just wrote down 8 million. 8 million. But he couldn't make that budget work.
Ooh.
And they would not budge on the budget. I know you gave me a lot of money. I really need more to do this right.
Money, please.
Money, please. So MGM had to say, sorry, we can't give you more than this. And Robert Wise said, fine, I'll take it somewhere else. I'll go to someone who appreciates my efforts.
Maybe it's a very obvious thing that I just don't understand because of not being in the business and also not being in that era. I would have gone back to United Artists and been like, hey, so I talked to my friends at MGM and they'll give me $1 million to do this. What'll you give me?
Funny that you say that.
Ha!
No, I'm kidding.
Damn it.
No, that's a brilliant idea. What he did do was say, hey, MGM London, this MGM don't want to give me the cash. You have this tax levy that's really great if a movie gets made there. You want to give me some money? And they're like, yeah, we'll give you 1.1 million. But with the tax levy,
It's that much more.
it justified it enough that it was filmed in London.
Thanks, London.
So it came time to cast the movie. Now, there's a very small cast in this movie,
Yes.
so it didn't really take a whole lot of time. The biggest hitch they had was getting Russ Tamblyn to play his character because he didn't really want to do it. But then he was on contract with MGM, and he'd worked with Robert Wise before in West Side Story.
Yes.
So he was able to kind of be convinced, yeah, you want to do this movie. And this is one of the best performances he has given. Now, Julie Harris, who plays Eleanor, was particularly excited because she loved the paranormal.
Woo.
That was her jam, and she was very excited to be in a ghost movie.
Nice.
Ghost story. Horror movie about ghost movie just sounds weird.
Yeah. Ghost feature.
There's like creature features and there's monster movies, but there's not like ghost flicks.
Trying to think of synonyms for movie.
I'm trying to think of synonyms for ghosts. Well, let's do this. On the count of three, let's each say a synonym for the thing that we're thinking of. Let me know when you've got yours.
Oh, well, no, because I have synonyms for ghosts. I don't have synonyms for movies.
All right, well then let's switch. You think of one for a ghost, I'll think of one for a movie, and we'll count it down.
Okay.
So it'll be after the beat of three. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, say it.
Okay.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Spectre.
Flick. Spectre flick. No, I don't think that works. 1, 2, 3. Film. Ghoul film.
Nope.
All right, last one. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Spook.
Reel. Spook reel.
I think that's the closest we're going to get to good.
I think so too. Anyway, so she was very excited to be in a spook reel. Robert Wise decided to shoot the movie in black and white because,
That makes it a more realistic spook reel.
of course, he loved shooting in black and white. He felt that it added more to the stories and that the contrasts helped to intensify the psychological aspects of the movie.
I think that's fair. I think that's something that Alfred Hitchcock demonstrated extraordinarily
100%.
well.
In the 90s, Ted Turner was excited about showing this movie on the television and wanted to colorize it.
Nope.
That was Robert Wise's...
Stop it, Ted Turner.
Yep. Robert Wise actually legally blocked him from doing so,
That's amazing.
which is just fantastic.
It is.
So Julie Harris, who played Eleanor, stated that she felt isolated and unhappy during the shoot. She was kind of going through some depression stuff.
Oh.
And she said the rest of the cast kind of ignored her and felt very standoffish towards her.
Oh.
The rest of the cast said that they loved their time with Harris, but she was standoffish towards them. And they felt that that was probably her trying to get more into the headspace of the character of Eleanor, who is kind of an outcast, who feels like an outcast from the group.
Yeah. I think it's also true that sometimes when you're feeling depressed, even if you are trying to interact, maybe your efforts aren't exactly working out as well as you think they are, and you might be coming off as standoffish.
That is also very true.
It's a thing that happens. Mental health is a thing that doesn't get enough attention in this country.
Very much agreed.
In many countries, but specifically.
They actually said that they invited her out to dinner with them several times, and she just kept turning them down. Now, they wanted to give the character of Theodora a kind of hip look.
I'm sorry, I can't hear Theodora without thinking of...
Nymphadora? Tonks?
No,
Theo... Patra, the Cleopatra drag queen?
No, it's the toy in the Christmas toy. Meteora.
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 Yes. So they wanted to give Meteora a kind of beatnik vibe, which, of course, Linkin Park channeled in their album Meteora real well. I think I made the same Linkin Park joke in the Christmas toy episode.
It's great.
I'm not ashamed.
Go with it.
But no, so they wanted to give Theodora a beatnik look, so they hired Mary Quant, who is a clothing designer. They hired her just to design clothes for Claire Bloom.
Wow.
Not for anybody else, just for Claire Bloom. Give her a beatnik vibe. Everyone else is going to wear normal shit. So.
We're going to go to Bloomingdale's and buy a whole wardrobe.
Bloomingdale's wardrobe. Yay. Let's go to Bloomingdale's.
We're going to buy a wardrobe. No, I'm sorry. They were in London. Let's go to Selfridges.
Yeah, Selfridges. Let's go to Selfridges and buy ourselves some departments. It is a department store.
It was the first of its kind.
That's right. Department
Store.
Anyway, that's what I've got for the first half. You want to go watch this movie?
Yes.
All right, great. I should specify that we are about to watch my favorite horror movie, and it is thunderstorming outside, and this is fucking perfect. And we're back.
We are back. That was the most atmospheric viewing that I think we have had together.
I agree.
Except for maybe some of the wintry ones. I think there was one where there was actually snow happening and we had a fire in the fireplace. Those were pretty good.
Right.
But this, I mean, a dark and stormy night.
Yeah. Dark and stormy night to watch a creepy ghost story. Mm-hmm. It's pretty great.
And like one of the most vintage creepy ghost stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without a bunch of like canned jump scares and all that kind of nonsense.
I feel like the only canned parts of this movie were the attempts at humor.
Yeah.
Which were still fine, especially for 63.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't hurt that they were coming from Russ Tamblyn.
Yeah, either Russ Tamblyn or Richard,
Pryor.
Johnson. I should have known that off the top of my head. Richard Johnson. But, like, they felt really, like, not written. Like, they felt like the sorts of jokes that people would make in that setting.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I like about the quote-unquote humor of this movie, which doesn't make you laugh.
Yeah.
But I love this movie. I love everything about this movie. So, Robert Wise was very excited about taking on this movie. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons that the whole movie appealed to him was he wanted to get back to his roots. The very first movie he ever directed was Curse of the Cat People. The sequel to Cat People.
Which has like surprisingly little to do with cat people.
Yeah, Curse of the Cat People, very little to do. It's more of a Christmas movie than it is anything else.
We should go back and watch that.
We should.
It's been over a year since we watched Cat People. And
yes.
Told you about it.
Need to watch that. Curse of the Cat People is good. It just has 3 characters from the original. Really 2.5. And it's good. It's not a horror movie in any way. No. There's one kind of scary part to it. So it's like, oh, sweet, it's finally starting to get creepy. Nope, there was just that one scene. Okay. But that was his that was his first movie.
Okay.
Produced by Val Lewton. Mm-hmm.
Creator of the Lewton Bus.
And Robert Wise went on to direct a few horror movies produced by Val Lewton, including one of my personal favorites, The Body Snatcher, which has Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi in it.
Nice.
It's really great.
So that really sounds like one of those great like director-producer combos.
Yeah, like
of which I can't think of any contemporary examples.
Maybe not a contemporary, but like a director-actor combo of Roger Corman and Vincent Price, especially with Roger Corman, Vincent Price doing an Edgar Allan Poe story. Those were great.
Yeah.
I can't think of producer-director combos, but like Wes Anderson and pick any of the people that Wes Anderson does his movies with.
Trillions of both of the Wilsons, Bill Murray.
But yeah.
Sorry, 2 out of 3 of the Wilson brothers.
That's right. Everyone forgets about Danny Wilson. No, I always actually forget who the third Wilson is.
I know he was in Bottle Rocket.
Yeah.
But it's been a very long time.
Indeed.
Anyway. Speaking of Owen Wilson, he was in the horrible remake.
Wow. Anyway, Val Lewton was once quoted as saying, if you make the screen dark enough, the mind's eye will read anything into it you want. Which is, like, great. I love that.
Yeah.
And that's...
I think that's something that you can recognize as being utilized in the best horror films, even if they don't know to attribute it.
Yeah. And Val Lewton was Robert Wise's mentor.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, very evident in this movie. This movie does not show a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's, like, one big special effects scene.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the door bending in.
Mm-hmm.
The way that was done was several layers of laminate wood being, like, put together to make the door.
Yeah.
And a prop man on the other side of it just pushing it.
Oh, that's so delightfully creepy.
Right? Also, there's the scene where, like, it's the quick pan up the stairs, up the spiral staircase.
Yeah.
The way they did that was they had the camera on a string, and they lowered it down the staircase, and then just reversed the film.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I
mean, simple but effective.
Simple but effective. It's real great. But yeah, like, so many of the things that make this movie creepy are not special effects. They're suggestions that your mind then fills in the blanks of. And that, like, it's intentional that the movie sets up that situation for your mind to fill in a creepy blank with a lot of intentional camera angles and edits. So there's a lot of camera angles that are, like, super at a weird, like, tilted, crazy. But most of the camera angles are only slightly off so that your brain picks up that there's something wrong, but you can't pick up on what it is.
Right.
And then there is, I forget the name of it, but like a rule that you have, you cut on one scene with people leaving through a door stage right. And then in the next scene, they're coming back through, they're coming through the door stage left. So, like, it seems like they're just walking into the next scene and they're going in the same direction that they were coming in. That's not the case in this movie. There's so many cuts where they're going out one side and then coming back in the other, like coming back in that same side.
Yeah.
To make it so that it's hard to pick up on exactly the orientation of the house.
The layout of the house is very ambiguous.
Yes, and that is very intentionally done with the edits and the cuts of this movie, which I love the hyper specificity of that. Like,
yeah, it is very intentional and put to the best use.
Yes, the only other instance that I can think of a movie that does that specific disorientation is The Shining. Like, if you track the character's movements, especially when Danny's riding his bike, like, it does not match with the layout of the hotel.
Yeah.
And it's
brilliant. And then on the other side of that, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, they very specifically made all of the travel on the way to Mordor was from left to right across your screen. No matter, like, what you were looking at, they were always going that way, and then when they were coming back, it was always traveling right to left.
Yeah.
Like, it can be used either way. It can be used to create orientation or to create disorientation.
And that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it. Also, we got to see a camera trick that had never been used before.
Ooh.
Now, this film was made in Panavision, which is kind of, it's an anamorphic format.
Okay.
Which means that it can turn into any animal, but if it stays that animal for more than an hour, it's stuck as that animal forever.
Yeah, that sounds right.
No, anamorphic is just the ratio that it is. But there hadn't been a wide angle developed for Panavision.
Okay.
Sorry, for Panavision.
Thank you.
And
Guys,
so,
if you didn't get it, we made an Animorphs joke. That's like the most 90s youth thing I can think of.
pretty much, yes.
Sorry. Continue.
I think it was an hour, maybe it was 3 hours. I can't remember exactly what that time frame was.
We
It's been a long time.
We should ask Red. She's been reading and reviewing them.
Geez, now my mind is just on Animorphs.
They
Andalites, Hork-Bajir.
They developed a wide-angle lens for
Yes.
Panavision.
So there hadn't been a wide-angle lens for Panavision up to that point. Mm-hmm. So Robert Wise called the president of Panavision, Bob Gottschalk, and asked, "Are there any wide-angle lenses?" And Gottschalk said, "Well, technically we're developing one. We just don't think it's ready for commercial use. There's a lot of distortion that happens in the lens, and like it's..."
And Wise was like, no. This isn't a commercial. This is a feature film.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yep, that Wise took the literal "not ready for commercial use" and said, "Well, this should be ready for feature film use." That's exactly what happened. Yes, I'm so proud of you.
I know.
You're so proud of yourself.
You love me.
I do. No, so Gottschalk said that there's an incredible amount of distortion on this lens. Like, it's not usable. And Robert Wise said, here's
Distortion?
the thing. That's what I'm going for.
I'm sorry, did you say distortion?
And so Gottschalk was like, I mean, I'll sell it to you if you want it, but you've got to sign some documents saying that you understand there's a lot of distortion in it, and you're not going to come back and complain to us if you're unhappy with it. And Robert Wise was like, "Great, where do I sign?" Signed it and used it in several shots. And you can tell those shots where, like, it's fish-eyed like crazy.
Yeah.
And not really in a good way, but obviously that's what they're wanting. So, like, a good way for what they were shooting for, but not
yeah. I
what
mean,
would be used in
when
a
you're
normal...
being that deliberate about disorientation, that's exactly what you want.
Exactly. So, Theodora. Yep. So her character is psychic, is in the Annals of Duke, which, you know, right down the street from us.
We could go look her up.
We could.
Let's do it. Be right back. We're back.
I didn't expect to actually find her information there, but it was right there.
Wow.
She saw a whole bunch of them cards hidden behind a screen.
Awesome.
So,
isn't that what the experiment at the beginning of Ghostbusters is based on?
that is exactly what the experiment at the beginning of Ghostbusters is based on.
Woo!
Except without the shock treatment.
Ooh.
Oh, Bill Murray. So, Theodora's character is a lesbian. While it's never flat out, like, said verbatim,
They did say it in this terrible remake.
I'm certain that they did, because everything that was subtle, we'll get to that in a minute. I have a lot of thoughts about the remake.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's okay. The censors specifically said, you can have this character be a lesbian, just you can't have her touch Eleanor. Like, there can be no physical contact.
Okay, but several times Eleanor touches her.
Yes, but she can't initiate the contact.
Oh.
Because that's too lesbian.
Yep, that's how it works.
Yep.
If you are touched by a person who is queer, they turn you queer.
Yes. No, that's
not
super
how that
dumb,
works.
and the censors were super dumb.
Yes.
Yes. So, obviously, they hinted at it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, there was supposed to be a scene at the beginning of the movie where we see Theodora yelling out of her apartment window at someone, clearly her partner, that, things aren't going well. Her partner is leaving. She storms to the bathroom and writes, "I hate you," and lipstick on the mirror.
And then helps her partner pack up her U-Haul.
Well, her partner's already in the car, you see. And we get a shot of the car, and it's a woman. So they're going to be a lot more obvious with it. But they felt like...
That was too explicit.
Not too explicit per se, but they felt like it had a better sting when Eleanor called her unnatural, nature's mistake type of thing. They felt like it was a better sting to, like, if people hadn't picked up on it at that point,
You're the monster
would
of
be
Hell
the
House.
one. Yeah. That would be like what really clued them into it and delivered that extra sting of, like,
Yeah. But
Theo's
like the really
been a lot
sheltered
more-
people in the world were like, oh, she's left-handed?
The mildly sheltered people would be like, "Oh, nature's mistakes because she's psychic." The really sheltered people would be like, "Oh my God, she's a lefty." The fucking lefties. What is this, left book? Anyway, so they felt like it was better delivered that way.
That's fair.
Yeah. That's all the notes that I have for this movie.
Do you want to go on a rant about the remake? Or do you just want to leave
So
those
the thing
feelings?
about this movie that is so fucking good is how understated everything is, how subtle everything is. They let your mind fill in the blanks, and that, like, it's just beautiful that they, and I've talked about this before, assuming the intelligence of your audience,
Yeah.
they don't need to cram shit down your throat.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the remake, they're like, "Oh, but cramming shit down people's throats, that sounds great.
Let's hire Owen Wilson.
Let's hire Owen Wilson and Liam Neeson and Catherine Zeta-Jones to to shove a ramrod down your throat with everything that was subtle about the original." And I hate it.
I am with you on that. Don't hate me for this. I applaud them for trying to utilize Liam Neeson because I think he can be incredibly subtle and fantastic.
Yes.
As can Catherine Zeta-Jones. And I will say that I thought she was a fun update to Theodora.
I think she's a great
But
pick for Theo.
But the fact that they were remaking it in the 90s and they were like, ooh, sexuality.
We gotta do sex.
Rawr. Then,
Just like the Cat People remake that they did in the late 80s, early 90s, where they made it like super sexy, but also like incest sexy.
no.
That's the
No.
right reaction.
No. To that end, I don't think the performances in that movie reflect the true range of talent that either Liam Neeson or Catherine Zeta-Jones have.
Agreed.
Otherwise, dumpster fire.
Yeah. I want to say Matthew Lillard was in it as well, but I could be completely wrong about that. It's been a while for obvious reasons since
Yes.
I've seen it.
Though I do appreciate that 1999 was also the year, and yes, I had to look this up, but that was also the year that the remake of House on Haunted Hill was released, and that was even more of a dumpster fire. And that's even having Taye Diggs in the cast, and I love Taye Diggs. Taye Diggs is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
No, you know what I'm getting it confused with? I'm getting this confused with fucking 13 Ghosts.
Again, another thing that was remade by the same studio that redid House on Haunted Hill, and I only know that because I was looking it up a little while ago.
Sounds about right. Yeah, the 13 Ghosts remake.
They were also the ones
In
that did House of
2001.
Wax remake with Paris Hilton.
Yes. Basically, they're just like, we're going to take good movies and remake them into terrible movies.
Because society has advanced and we're still pretty terrible.
That is correct. Another thing I love about this movie, to go back to kind of the subtleness. Well, you know what? No, I'll just jump into this. A few years ago, a friend of mine visited me from Georgia and had never seen The Haunting. And so we decided to play a drinking game while watching this movie. I came up with 3 rules to the drinking game.
Okay.
Drink anytime we saw someone die, which really is just intense in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Drink anytime anyone's full name was used. And drink anytime you saw a face that wasn't like an actual person's face. We eventually cut out that last rule because it was happening so much that we just cut it down to the rule of drink whenever Eleanor is said. And we were still trashed by the end of that movie.
Oh, goodness.
Because Eleanor has said a lot, but particularly there are so many either statues like that have faces, or even more so things that don't even have like real faces, like
shadows,
wallpaper, shadows, just shapes of things that have a suggestion of a face that make it that much creepier. What are you laughing at?
I'm sorry. The
suggestion of a face.
Suggestion of a face was something that they dropped into the second or third season of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. They have a water stain on their wall.
That's right.
Who are you? Why are you here? What do you want? Go away.
That's right. But yeah, like I think
it is very unsettling.
It's very unsettling. It's very well done because of how fucking subtle it is, and they let the audience come to that conclusion on their own without beating them over the head with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's talk about the tropes.
Yes. Sheltered lead character is very innocent and ignorant of the world, fights consistently to be taken seriously,
and falls in love with the big, strong doctor.
Falls in love with the first significant male figure she is not related to.
I mean, to be fair, though, Dr. Markway is daddy AF.
That mustache.
I'm going to delete that. I don't think your mom wants to hear me say that.
Or maybe my dad.
Wow. Your dad would find it funny. I don't know if your mom would.
He would.
Person who seems least susceptible to the creepy becomes a believer at the end.
Yes. Creepy resident caretakers.
Oh yeah, definitely. They were really good harbingers.
Oh yes.
The Dudleys.
Yes.
My mom and I will still frequently quote Mrs. Dudley. In the night, in the dark, no one will come any nearer than town. No one lives any nearer than town. No one will come any nearer than that. In the night, in the dark, Uspenskaya.
I was thinking. Let's see. Condescending child relative.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's a hot second, but it's there.
Yes. Auntie Nell is blanking. Auntie Nell is blanking. This might be a silly one, but Psychic has dark hair.
Okay. I buy that. Psychic is unconventional in more than one way. Which, I mean, That is not me trying to make a commentary. That is me saying at the time they were trying to make that character more different.
A bunch of people willingly go in to explore a haunted house, and none of them are of color. Because people of color would be like, no, I'm not going into that haunted house. Are you crazy?
It's time to go.
It is time to go.
The one representative related to the family who owns the house is materialistic and purely there to appraise the value they can squeeze out of each brick of this building.
Yes.
And cracks jokes about everybody else the whole time.
They crack wise. They crack Robert Wise.
Young macho male consistently hits on lesbian, will not stop.
I mean, that's fair.
I mean, I guess like in broad strokes, like the scary thing really is in the house.
Yeah.
A lot of what makes it good are the things that are like classic tropes, like very little is actually shown. More of it is left to the audience's imagination. There's decidedly not like an audience surrogate among the cast, I don't think.
Yeah, I think the closest thing would be Russ Tamlin's character.
Maybe, but like he seems like so...
But he's
so cheesy and overt and like,
yeah,
ha ha ha, dollar bills, dollar bills, dollar bills,
dollar bills, y'all.
Yeah. Which is much more contemporary to today than back then.
But yeah, there's not really a good audience surrogate, which I like.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's good. It is a
that,
trope
again,
subverted.
I think that's another way that like the audience feels a little unsettled is because they don't have anyone they can directly relate to.
Yeah.
The trope of a good thunderstorm going on while you're watching a horror movie.
Yep. That one doesn't always happen though.
No.
Doesn't always happen.
Wish it did.
We'll get to work on that weather machine.
Yes. Well, I mean, I have a friend who works for the NSA. I could just ask him to control the weather.
Well, could you?
I mean, I could.
Would you?
You know I would. But he wouldn't respond.
What kind of friend is that?
I believe he's actually deleted his online presence now.
Dang. NSA's hardcore.
Yeah.
I think that's all I got.
Yeah, I think that's really all that I have as well. Aside from just talking about how much I fucking love this movie. It's so damn good.
It is quite good. It is inarguably a classic.
Inarguably. So as always, you can find us on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. I don't know what voice this is, but I've gone into it now and I can't really leave it. You can find us on Twitter at Subverted Tropes.
If you want to contact us outside of Twitter, you can send us an email directly to subvertedtropecast@gmail.com. And we try to consistently update the blog whenever we post an episode. We like to put our sources up and just talk a little bit more in depth about the film itself. So you can follow that at subvertedtropecast.wordpress.com. And if you do follow us on any of the aforementioned podcasting networks, if you would give us a follow, if you would give us a rating, if you would tell your friends, that would all be super awesome.
That would be super great.
Here we go.
Yeah, I'm stuck in the voice. I'm sorry. A huge thank you to our logo designer, Gracie Bolland.
I'm sorry, a logo designer?
Yeah, logo designer?
I heard loco.
A logo designer.
Like for loco.
You're making fun of me for my voice.
I'm not making
our
fun
logo
of you.
Designer.
I'm having a hard time.
All right. Well, here's a big thanks to our... Nope, that's not going to work. Big thank you to our logo designer, Gracie Bolland. She's extremely talented and actually just launched a YouTube channel of her own. Look up A Modern Unicorn for... right now she's talking about tarot And she just talks about her fantastic life, and she is a fantastic person. So you
I
should.
believe that is also her Instagram handle as well.
Yes.
Modern Unicorn on
A Modern
Instagram.
Unicorn. So check her out. She's fantastic. And we hope that you
Love and appreciate
love
her.
and appreciate her
And
as much
if you
as we
don't,
love
then
and appreciate
stay
her.
away from her because we will protect her always.
That is right. She is our adopted daughter.
Yep.
And we love her and are very proud of her.
So proud. So proud.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in for my birthday episode. Looking forward to our next couple of episodes. We've got The Philadelphia Story and Beverly Hills Cop, which have been favorites of the past. I mean, I love The Philadelphia Story still, and I love Beverly Hills Cop, but it's not
It's
really
just not
a top five
anymore.
But it is just a lot of fun.
And I don't think we've really planned anything beyond that, and we should get on that.
We should. We'll probably start looking at maybe
Utilizing
having some
some of our
guests going on, because that would be great.
That would be great.
I mean, we've had some guests before. Would love to have some guests again.
And we're gonna.
And we're going to do that. So
Simple as that.
that's right. All right. Well, thank you guys so much, and have a good day.
Happy birthday, my love.
Thank you, love.